Okay, so here we are. I'm gonna make another attempt to try and make a any percent tutorial video for Tai 2. I feel like my first one I did a pretty poor job with showing off all the tricks. So yeah, basically, to start off with for this run, we're currently in a sort of transition period of moving from RTA timing to loadless timing. So in a few months or so, timing is going to be loadless. And basically, in order to get a loadless timer, you can just join the Discord server. And I think there's a pinned message on the Tai 2 general chat. And you'll be able to download it, put it in your live split thing, and it'll just automatically detect that you're playing the game, and it'll automatically detect that it starts loading at certain points. You'll see that with the timer I have. The timer I have has RTA and loadless times. We don't use the in-game timer because it does some pretty weird stuff sometimes, and it's not 100% consistent, which is why we don't use it. If you want the fastest loads, then there's three things you should do. Number one, make sure your graphics driver is totally updated. Number two, make sure the game's saved on an SSD instead of a hard drive. And three, what I found to be the most important thing to speeding up the load times is just simply turning off VSync. Now, if you don't know, VSync is a thing that graphics drivers have that just sync up the game's frame rate to your monitor's refresh rate. This might cause some weird visual things to happen if you have a crappy monitor, but it'll save a lot of processing power from your GPU, and ultimately the load times are going to be insanely faster. Also, you can go into the options, go into the screen. I have everything set on low, but as far as I know, increasing the detail doesn't actually change the load times that much. But I just keep it on low anyway, just so it loads as fast as possible. Although, like I said, there isn't that much of a noticeable difference. Alright, so let's go. I'm just going to start a new game, not going to start the timer. Basically, there's going to be cutscenes like this. Just spam Y or triangle through them to quickly go through it. When you're moving around, you're going to want to be hugging walls like this. Alrighty. This first area we need to get a lot of opals, so watch closely to my movements here. Okay. And now what happens is once you've killed the 5 frills that are right here, it'll start a timer that will activate this to disappear.
Let's go.
And let's go through that and talk about that. Since this area is very important, you'll be resetting here a lot, trust me. So first thing, these 10 frills that spawn in at the front, you can just totally skip them. Don't need them. Because when it comes to getting a lot of opals, what matters most is making sure you have a high combo. So what you want to do is get the combo up to 20 as fast as possible and then start collecting opals. And make sure you're still constantly killing frills so that doesn't go away. Right off the bat, a bomb will drop and you'll get around a 10 times combo. Right off the bat, go ahead and kill all the frills that didn't, like clean them all up. You should be at around 14 times or 13 times combo after that. Grab the opals that are right here. And then stand back and kill all the frills that are in this area. But make sure, like I said, you stand back until you get up to 20 times combo. And then start collecting them so you get as many as possible. And then, basically you need... I think 1700 is the minimum you should be leaving this area with, in this category at least. But I usually leave with around 1800. So with all that being said, I'm going to start over. So you can see that one more time. It's very easy to mess this up, so I might very well mess this up this time. I'm actually surprised I got it first try. I'll go ahead and have the timer going throughout the duration of this tutorial, but this isn't going to be any groundbreaking time, that's for sure. So I'm going to try and go relatively slowly so I can explain everything. As you can see, I only got up to a... Oh, it looks like I got enough. Okay. Okay, I got enough. I actually got way more than enough. Although that was very slow, and you can tell if it's slow or fast based on the music here. Listen to how the music changes phrases here. Hear that new phrase just started up? That means it was really slow. You don't want that phrase to start up.
Look out!
But I'm gonna go ahead and keep going anyway. Alright, so the way these enemies here work is there's a total of 3 of these guys. The third one's on a timer, so it doesn't matter how fast you kill those first 2. This one will always fall in around that time. Once you kill all 3 of them, this will leave. I like to come up here. Make sure you don't touch the fire, or else you'll take a damage animation. And just simply taking damage wouldn't be bad, but it's just the animation that you want to avoid. Waste time. Basically follow the platforming I did just now. There's a cutscene you'll have to skip. And you can just constantly be spamming Y when you're moving through cutscene areas like that, and you should be able to skip the cutscene in like 1 or 2 frames if you're just constantly spamming Y. I sometimes like to jump around those guys because they like to jump on you. That's very annoying because you stop in place when they jump on you and you have to shake the left thumbstick to get them to fall off. Loses a decent amount of time. So then just run through this area. Alright, this is very important here. You have to have a mouse readily available when you're playing on PC at least. Because watch this. This is me moving around with a mouse. That's how fast. This is me moving with the thumbstick. It's literally that slow when you're moving with a thumbstick. You have to have a mouse if you want to do this quick, because once you knock out that first one, skip this, quickly move over here, and fire in this general vicinity. You'll have to learn to get a feel for that, but as you can see, I missed. Okay, I'll get one more opportunity to hit that, but, oh, it looks like I did hit him, it just didn't activate the, okay. If you do that quick enough, that enemy will, that blimp will die very fast. And you'll save a lot of time when that happens. And, you know, it's a speedrun, that's kind of the name of the game. So let's see if I can get it. That might have been too slow again. Alright, each of these blimps, you only need to hit them once. Oh. If you ever want to see what that looks like really fast, check out the world record video for this category. I think I got it. I think I got the quick cycle on both of them. It's pretty tricky, and it takes a long time to get a feel for it. And then to add to it, there's really no good way to practice that either, because you always have to go through this intro section every single time you want to restart it. So just avoid all those. Okay. There's a quick strategy you can do there where you get in front of Fluffy and she pushes you in, and that'll activate this fight a little quicker. So check this out. You hit her, but look. She's blocking all my attacks. Why is she blocking all my attacks? Well, if you jump, for some reason the game thinks you can start hitting her, so you have to jump in between each other. Don't really know why that's the case, it just is. And then spam through the cutscenes. Now up here, prepare to hit the back button. Now, whenever this opens up, you don't want to hit the back button immediately. You need to wait till the prompt at the bottom shows up, press the back button, because if you press the back button immediately as this happens, and then you back out, this will still be here. You have to wait for that prompt to pop up. So you'll see, I hit the back button, back out, and it's gone. If you were to do it too fast, it would still be there. Grinding on rails is really easy. You just jump on them and you go. That's basically it. Okay, in the PC version, PCs are able to handle this big giant area, whereas in the console version, this area is split up into 2 sections. There's this, and then there's a giant wall there that separates out the other half of the town. And because that's the case on PC, you can actually do this little jump here, where you jump on this trash can, and then jump on this house, and then jump up here. And you don't have to go all the way around. You also don't have to deal with a loading screen at all, which is nice, because loading times in the console version, the old console version, is really, really slow. So the first mission you have to do is up here in this graveyard. All you have to do is find this kid. This is probably the easiest mission in the game. Now, keep in mind with this, if you get around here and you try and activate it, it won't activate for some reason. You actually have to get a little bit further than that exclamation point is in order to activate it. I've had many runs where I just barely don't get close enough. So just keep that in mind. Go a little bit further than you think. And again, we can just run this way on the PC version. Basically, pathing like this is all about taking the path of least resistance, if you will. Even right here, I like to hit these two boxes, just so they're not in my way. Not for the opals. The opals don't matter. It's just so the boxes aren't in my way. So now, go ahead and start this mission. With this first croc, hit him once, and then just make the turn. Don't worry, we'll see him again. Now, the key to killing these guys fast is to time your ranks. 1, 2, 3. Oh. And I miss. Okay, but that's about the timing, though, and that should be consistent. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Keep that around the timing, because if you throw too fast, if you throw two really fast, notice how long it takes for me to throw a third ring after the first two. 1, 2, 3. It takes a while. And the problem with that is you'll hit it twice, and then he'll start up his little animation where he notices you and he sort of flails around for a second. When he does that, his hitbox becomes tiny. Makes it really hard to hit them. So let me try it again with this guy so I can show you the good timing. As you can see, he flailed and I missed. That's because his hitbox becomes tiny. 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. And you can even run away from that guy a little bit. Because with the auto-targeting, it doesn't matter what way you're facing, he'll always throw straight at it. He does have a tendency to still miss, though, so be careful. Make sure you're still looking straight on. You'll notice when I'm going towards this one, 1, 2, 3. I'm always going either directly forward or directly behind him. If you're moving at an angle like this, it makes it much easier for the auto-targeting to miss. So we hit this guy once, so just hit him 2 more times. Always make sure you're hugging the walls. 1, 2, 3. 3. I wasn't quite close enough to him, so the auto-targeting didn't function properly. But ideally, I guess, ideally with this mission, you want to constantly be moving. You never want to stop moving. And it's especially true with those, because you can just get them, turn around, and still be attacking them even when you're moving backwards away from them. One thing that might be a pitfall for some people, beginners might think, oh, you can just bite them. That kills them in one shot. And biting them does kill them in one shot. I already hit this guy once, but just take my word for it that bite would have killed it in one shot anyway, even though we already hit him once. The issue with that is, notice, you stop moving for a second. You gain a little bit of forward momentum, a little bit, but that time that you spend not moving ends up losing you time. It also means that if you're trying to hit one going around a turn like this, trying to hit one 3 times, you have to go out of your way, stop, to bite them, and then keep moving. And you lose around 3/4 of a second or something like that. May not seem like a lot, but trust me, in an optimized game like this, that's a lot of time. And you don't want to be losing that kind of time. So yeah, always make sure you're throwing rings, and always time it. 1, 2, 3. Nope. 1, 2, 3. The amount of time the rings are away from you just depends on how close you are to whatever you hit. Like, you'll notice that one took a really long time to get back into my hand, but whenever I'm hitting something that's right next to me, it's quickly back in my hand, much more quick. That's why that timing works here. 1, 2, 3. Always keep that in mind. Alright, let's move on. Now right here, you can go around this. You can do that. But if you want to move quicker, you can actually do jump gliding. Jump gliding is a very important feature to speedrunning this game. If you jump and glide right at the right time, you'll gain a tiny little bit of air that you didn't have. And with that, you can actually jump all the way up here without doing a ledge grab. Normally with it... Ooh. I guess you can barely make it even without one. Never knew that. I always thought you needed a... Well... Look at that, I learn something new every day. Well, you'll gain a little bit of extra height, and it'll take less time to get up here. You don't want a ledge grab, though. That'll lose you time. But jump, glide, that'll make it easier. Run up here, jump, and that platform is going to be much quicker than running around the stairs. Although it's going to take a little bit of practice. Next, with loading areas like this, ones that are short enough to where you can actually get all the way up to the sliding door, you want to jump right before it hits the ground so you can start getting horizontal motion before it goes all the way down. Because if you're just running into it, you have to wait about, and I mean it's not much, it's like a quarter of a second longer, but still, that's a quarter of a second that you can save just by jumping. Easy peasy. Cutscene here, press Y to enter, and then drive with R2. Now, keep in mind with driving that sometimes the absolute quickest pathway is not always the actual quickest pathway. Let me show you. So that's the path that I would normally take when going through this area. But if you try and go the absolute quickest path, watch what happens. If I try and go over this grass, is what I'm trying to say. Oh, it didn't happen. Well, the physics while driving is a little weird. Let's see if I can get it to happen and show you. Something you want to avoid. Basically anything that's just too steep, because anything that's too steep... That didn't happen again. Alright, well anyway, sometimes when you're driving up something that's too steep, your front tires will lift off of the ground, and you won't be able to steer, and you just sort of just be stuck in limbo for a second while you're waiting for your truck to land on the ground again. You don't want that. So that kind of happened there just now, if you saw. So basically avoid any hills that are too steep, or anything that's just really hilly terrain. Alright, now right here, as soon as you move in, cutscene will happen. Skip the cutscene and immediately aim towards that one. I got unlucky, he jumped on the pole. The easiest way to kill these guys is just to bite. You can see where the invisible ones are based on shadows, so they're not really that hard to see. Now, if you're looking directly at an enemy, like that, you can go ahead and throw rings at them, but if they're moving in a horizontal direction... Let's see if I can get one that's... I actually managed to hit him. You'll get lucky sometimes. Come on, buddy. I'm trying to find one that's in motion so I can show off what happens if you try and... See how I just missed him twice and I just missed him again? That's because when they're in motion like that, it's almost impossible for the auto-targeting to hit them unless you are aiming directly at them and moving in the same direction as them. Like this guy right here, I was able to hit him because I was moving directly towards him. Alright. I'll go more in-depth on these fights during the next ninja fight, but I think that should explain some of the, how trying to kill them fast works. Another goal is to try and be towards the exit whenever you kill the very last one. That way you do as little movement to leave the area as possible. With these tight turns, you'll need to do power sliding by holding down A, which is just braking at the same time as accelerating. And that'll allow you to slide around. So I was able to take that turn much more quickly, as you saw. Had I not power slid, I would have rammed right into the wall. Because the turning is very slow. Again, here, I power slide. Just like that. Now moving to this next mission, the game wants you to go around this way, but you can actually just take the path of least resistance, jump, jump. You can actually grab the floor here and jump. You'll still be sliding down, but you can still jump. So you just move up a little bit, jump, jump, and you'll be up here. Easy peasy. Alrighty, there's some fun stuff that goes on in this next mission, mainly because of how the game's collision detection works. Causes some weird stuff to happen during this mission. This mission's pretty long, and it's frankly pretty boring, but the second half, there's actually some good speed tech in it. So, one note real quickly, right off the bat, this is the only helicopter mission in the game where you have to grab at least one fuel canister, or else you will run out of fuel and lose. It's just not possible to complete this mission without grabbing at least one fuel canister. So, I skipped that first one because it's kind of out of the way. And the first one I get is going to be all the way up here on this hill. See in a second. And literally just touching it with your claw will pick it up. You don't have to get all the way down. So you just touch it, and then go in between that rock and tree, and you're good. So, now, time for the weird stuff. So, we're about to pick up a thing of dynamite, and what that's going to do is create two solid objects, the helicopter and the dynamite, that are connected by a tether. Now, with the game's collision detection, I'll try and explain it more when we get there. It'll be hard to explain without being able to see it. And I'm not sure if I'm using the right terminology for this either. It's just sort of what my brain is coming up with. So what happens here is you have one solid object below you, and whenever it gets moved far out of the way, it's going to push the other object, which is connected by the tether, away in order to auto-correct itself. So let me show you that again. We move through here. Since that pipe is not going to move at all, it's just not going to budge. Instead, it's going to move you. And it's going to push you super forward like that. Although that can be risky because, as you saw just now, it pushed me to the side because what happened was, if this, it's going to push you in the opposite direction of how it's going down. Let me grab this fuel canister real quick so I don't die. So as you can see, let me try it on this tree real quick. It goes behind me, so it pushes me forward. Although if it goes to the left, it's going to push me to the right. If it goes to the right, it's going to push you to the left. So basically the goal is to always have it fall behind you, which can be a little tricky at some points. But basically, just play around with that and you can find a good route. You can watch how I do it. There's one last one right here, although it's pretty tough. Yeah, I missed it. Because you want to land right on that helicopter pad at the end. Okay, check to see. Make sure you have enough opals. I got way more than I normally do. 1,900 at the beginning. So I ended up with 5,300. If you leave with 1,700, you should be at least at around 5,000. You should be at least at 5,000 at this point. Which is why I always don't leave without 1,700. And 1,700 isn't that hard. It's pretty doable. But you need to have at least 5,000 here. If you're a little tiny bit shy, you can grab some opals here. There's not a lot. But if you're like 30 or 40 shy, you should be able to get all the way up with those last few boxes. Alright, now right here, some pretty tricky driving. What you want to do, even if your vehicle is in the air, you can press Y over those pads to leave the vehicle. So you want to drive off at an angle that's going towards that ray of light, but also, so enough to the left where it's going towards that, but not enough to the right to where you hit this invisible wall right here. You don't want that. So let's see if I can get it. I'm about 80% consistent at this point. It's pretty tough. You need to do a power slide into it for sure. Okay, that was a little weird. I sort of did a barrel roll, but it worked. So it doesn't really matter. You can watch the world record video, and it should be a little bit more clean in that video. Okay, here, right off the bat, as soon as you skip this cutscene, throw a ray. So you can deal 1 point of damage. Always try and be directly in front of this enemy, and I'll show you why. He does this animation, that, just now, where he jumps, and you can avoid that animation entirely just by being in front of him, to where he's moving in your general direction. Okay, he did it again. Okay. That was a pretty good cycle, actually. Again here, and he got away from me, so he's gonna... That was really bad. Let me try and do that better here. So he's gonna get away, he's gonna run towards me, and about a split second after it hits the ground is when you want to auto-target it and throw a ring at it, and it should hit. Just a split second after he hits the ground. Hey, let's see. Nice. Although, I was at a bad angle afterward. With this last one, as you can see, the hitboxes here on this final cycle are really, really weird. So the first two didn't actually connect. What I try and do is always jump. That makes it a little bit easier to hit. But the hitboxes are really weird, so it'll randomly not hit for some reason sometimes during that last cycle. Kind of random. Alright, so that's the first quarter of the game. Now moving on. Like I said, we needed 5,000 opals because there is a required item for this section of the game. And it costs exactly 5,000 opals, as you might expect. Over here at the, what is it called? Trader Bob? Yeah. At his shop, he sells a few things. He sells these three, which will eventually buy all three of these. He sells these, health bonuses, although they're they're very overpriced and they're frankly kind of worthless, so yeah, don't ever buy. There's not a single category in the game where you need to buy these, not even 100%. And you can also buy skins with these. So we need this Thermal Bunyip Extreme. This allows you to do the final boss, I mean not the final boss, the boss mission for this quarter of the game. Also allows you to do the volcano, but we won't be doing the volcano since that mission takes forever. So now come over here. Dennis made lunch. It's pretty gross. Apparently that image there is supposed to be of some sort of food. Not really sure what kind of food. But this mission's really easy. It's just take it and deliver it. Okay. So when driving here, avoid this little patch of grass to the right. There's an invisible wall in it. And so if you go a little bit too far into that patch of grass, you will just hit an invisible wall head on and lose all your momentum. You don't want that, so I just avoid that patch of grass altogether. Alright, there's going to be a frill that comes in and annoys you. Sometimes he pushes you forward a little bit, sometimes he pushes you to the side. When he pushes you to the side, it's really annoying because it spins you out, so try and avoid that at all costs. You can actually drive in these patches of grass and you won't lose any speed. However, in the console version, you will lose speed. So again, with a hole hugging the wall, it's just slightly faster. Although it's a little bit more risky because if you run into the wall, you'll lose a little bit of your momentum. Alright, so that's that. This next mission is probably it has the most difficult trick in it, for sure. And it's probably the most difficult mission in this entire run. So it's kind of straight path to drive on. Something really important to note, with these racing areas, they have these little pads out front. Do not drive over them. If you drive over them, that thing I was talking about with hilly terrain will happen, and your front tires will pop up, and you won't be able to steer, and you'll be stuck in limbo for like 1 or 2 seconds. And you don't want that, so don't drive over those little bumps. Okay, so over here, the forest. This is definitely the most difficult platforming level in the game. Especially if you want to get all the hard tricks, because they're pretty tough. So right off the bat, start climbing up here. Now, something I like to do whenever the camera's really zoomed in, I'll go ahead and explain this now since it's a good opportunity to. Right now, my left hand isn't doing anything, and I have a shitty camera angle. So what am I going to do? I'm actually going to put my right hand over my left hand on the D-pad and push back, well, push down on the D-pad to get a better camera angle. Since my right hand's not doing anything. Sort of a 2-for-1 there. So here, jump up on this little tip here on this wood. It's a little spot where you can stand on. And then jump again, and you should be able to ledge grab, jump up here. Let me knock this guy out so he doesn't... Oh, shit. I'm going to wait for him to come back. I don't want him to annoy me. There we go. Alright, so the easy strat is to just go around here. And I'll just go ahead and show you what it looks like, just so you see. You can make these jumps. They aren't too hard, especially if you jump glide. Shave off a tiny little bit of time. And then you're here. If you ever fall off in this area, especially doing the really difficult trick I'm about to show you, come over here, jump glide, grab the ladder, and then bam, you're back up here. Alright, so with this, let me see if I can just get it real quick so you can see what it looks like. Nice, I got it. That's the trick. Let me show you how to do it consistently. Now, if you go into this with a bad camera angle, one that's basically horizontal or close to horizontal and flat. Oh, I almost got it. Although it's much more difficult to get the right angle whenever the camera's flat like that. What you want is to have the camera somewhat tilted like this. I messed it up. Oh, I almost got it again, though. But trust me, it's much easier. Let me explain why it's much easier when you have a camera angle like that. What's happening with that jump is you're grinding up, and then all of a sudden you hit the tip, the very edge of the rope, and what's going to happen is Ty's going to do a really quick 180, very fast, depending on what your current speed is, and then jump off in the opposite direction. So this is not jumping. That's not jumping. As you can see, he did a really fast 180 and jumped backwards. And that, like I said, is determined on your speed. And you can actually control your max speed while grinding depending on your camera angle. If it's flat like this, he's going to have a relatively fast max speed. And it's going to be really hard to jump off whenever Ty's facing this way, which is the goal. You want to jump off when he's facing this way, so he goes directly in between those two branches there. If you control your max speed by moving your camera angle and lowering it, it makes that jump much more easy to do. I messed it up. But this is hard. It's even hard when you slow it down. It's just slightly more consistent. So that's basically it. I'm going to do it one more time to show you. Although this trick, it's just really hard. There's a lot of top runners who don't even try it, but hopefully that explanation will prove that it's at least doable. Just like that. Alright, so moving on, you'll go immediately onto this. Jump, glide. Make sure you don't start gliding whenever you're touching the tree trunk. If you try to glide when touching the tree trunk, it just won't let you glide and you'll fall down. That's obviously bad. So make sure you're not connected to the tree trunk when you start gliding there. Alright, so there's some creative jumping you can do to avoid some platforms. Here, for instance, you can jump glide and just barely make this jump. What you don't want to do is jump... Okay, I messed it up. Because I've done this jump the good way too many times. You don't want to... Damn it. Okay, basically you don't want to jump and ledge grab. Ledge grabbing will actually lose you time. If you keep jumping and ledge grabbing there and you just can't quite figure it out, just do this for now. It'll be quicker. But once you practice it enough, jump glide. Okay, and then I mess it up that time. Jump glide and you'll get it. Here, there's a really quick jump where you touch that rope and grind for a second to get off. I'll show you that one more time. So you jump up here, and now you jump there, and you end up right here, skipping all that area. Now jump here, and again you can grind. Anytime you see a rope, you can grind on it. There's only a few ropes in the game that you can't grind on. Make sure you time your jump here so you can avoid that. You don't just want to blast off into it. Make sure that when you jump into it, you know you're not going to get hit. Same with this one, although it's kind of out of your way. Sometimes you might have to move around a little bit. And you can skip that whole area just by jumping, and that's the mission. Alright, moving on. We have a little bit more of tricky driving here. Because, as you can see, there's this really annoying S-turn, which you can actually avoid completely by driving up this hill right here. As you can see, I skipped the whole thing. Let me go ahead and explain how to get that a little bit more easily, because it is a little tricky. The idea with driving up that hill, and I'm pretty sure you can't do this in console version just because of how terrain slows you down in console version. The idea is that you aim yourself a little bit to the right, towards that tree almost, but that was a little bit too much. And it'll naturally push you to the side once you get to the top. And that'll be the quickest way to get up. But that's another thing that you just kind of have to get a feel for. So you'll have to practice it a little bit. Here, I like to slow down just a little bit so I can make sure I'm connected to the ground to make this turn. Although some people don't slow down at all and they're able to make it just fine, so it doesn't lose that much time to slow down a little bit in the 4D. Okay, this next mission. The next 3 missions are all pretty boring. Well, I guess one of them, you have to put on your thinking cap for one of them, but this one's sort of straightforward. It's going to be the same every single time. Now, keep in mind, follow the route I'm going in right now. You want to go to the left first, grab it. Notice how your claw swings a little bit, so you don't actually have to get all the way up next to one of the pieces to grab it. Like this one right here. Let's see if I can... The claw swings and it grabs. I don't actually have to get all the way up to it. And basically, just follow the path I'm going in right now. I think all the top runs use the exact same path, because it's really the only viable path. I've seen a lot of people with who are lower on the leaderboards. I've seen their times, and one of the biggest things are missions like this, where they have to move these pieces around. They take some really like impromptu paths, and you can tell they haven't really thought it out very much. So just study this a little bit. This is the absolute quickest path for this mission. And that's it. Pretty simple. The next one is similar in that you have to grab stuff and move them, but it's a lot more difficult because with that mission, you were taking a bunch of static objects and moving them to static locations, i.e. they're not moving. In this one, you're grabbing a bunch of moving objects and moving them to a moving location. So, if you get just a tiny bit off of your normal route, things are going to move around a lot. So you really have to play this one by ear a lot. Let's go ahead and head over there and start it up, and I'll show you what I mean. Go towards this first croc, grab it, and you'll see everything is moving. For the most part, you'll just be able to stay on the same path every time, even if you get a little bit off. It's just annoying trying to always get this moving helipad because it is really easy to miss. And hopefully I can show off how easy it is to miss. See how I was basically directly over it and it didn't fall? I was just a little bit too far to the left, which is what I was trying to show you there. It just goes to show how the tiniest little variance can throw you off during this mission. So you'll want to get these two first, because if you'll notice the helipad's path, it's moving away, and this is the closest the helipad is going to ever be to those two crocs, so you'll want to get those now. Now, given that you follow a good path here, and like I said, if it really goes poorly, and sometimes it really can, like that just now, you might have to take an impromptu path. But you should never ever have to grab fuel. If you have to grab fuel, then you're doing something wrong here. As you can see, I'm already almost done, and I'm only halfway now. This is another one of those missions where you just have to do it a lot, and you just have to get a good feel for it, because it's really hard. I think I might actually gold split. I didn't gold split, but I saved time off of my PB. That's funny. I'm not sure how that was so fast. But yeah. And you can tell how quick or not that mission goes just depending on where you end, where the helipad is when you end. So that went pretty well for me. This next mission's probably, well, it's probably not as easy as the Find the Kid mission, but this one's very easy. It's another timer mission where you have to move something, but the timer is just comedically large. It's 5 minutes again, but you can literally do this in 45 seconds. Do a quick turn by power sliding there. That's another thing. When you have to do a full 180 when you leave an area, just power slide. Try not to hold the power slide for too long or else you'll turn too far and then you'll run into a wall. And you don't want that, so try to end your power slide a little bit before the end of your turn and it should work out just fine. Again, we're taking it to the beach. This time we're taking it to Rex, who's right here. Alright. There's a lot of platforming. I turned a little bit too quick. There's a lot of platforming stuff going on in this next mission. So the way this boss fight works is it's actually one mission, and then the boss fight is after you complete this mission. This mission only unlocks after you've completed a certain amount of missions in the previous area, and that's how all the boss fights work in the game. You have to complete a certain amount of missions, unlocks a boss fight. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but I'll get into it whenever that actually matters, which will be in the next quarter. So, again, with these enemies, you don't have to kill them. If they're in your way, you can go ahead and hit them. I wouldn't auto-target like that because then it's going to mess up your camera. Just, the game's normal auto-targeting should suffice to get them out of your way, but I usually just try and jump over the enemies. Alright, so this is the Thermal Bunyip. You can kind of just run through, and you can see just spinning will just totally annihilate enemies. You can spin like that with circle, and then you can also spray with square, or the Xbox equivalent to that. Now, as you can see right there, you can actually jump on that terrain, and that little piece there, that little object, is copied and pasted all throughout this area, and they all have that same feature where you can jump on them and then jump over them. Here, exit around that area so you can get to the top of the ladder so you don't have to climb it. These rails, you can stand on them. Oh, you can stand on them like this, which means you can also jump off of them. So you can actually jump on the rail. It's hard to stay on the rail. He likes to slide off, but then jump again, jump glide, and you don't have to touch the ladder at all. Saves you a little bit of time. Same with this one right here. And again, with the way the game's auto-targeting system works, you can just jump, and it automatically hits the button for you. You don't have to continue your platforming. Move over here, spray this fire. And again, this little piece is copy and pasted all over, so you can just jump over it. It's always the same. I'm pretty sure you can do that in console version too. Avoid those lasers. If you get hit once by those lasers, you're going to get hit infinity times by those lasers. You don't want that. Jump, land on the rail, so on. Rail, jump, jump. Here, you can actually do a jump glide, and you don't have to touch that platform at all. Jump there to cut a corner. Jump again to cut a corner. Now, you don't want to jump too early here. If you jump, you end up on this. As you can see, you can stand on it. And that's going to make it harder to fall down. So just try and fall down there. Make sure you fall for like half a second and start gliding so you can glide over this fire, or as much of that fire as possible. The reason why I say wait at least half a second is because the way jumping in this game works is it actually gives you a lot of leeway after you've fallen to perform a jump. There's a lot of frames after you fall off of something to perform a jump. So if you try and glide too early after falling, it'll actually perform a jump for you. And in that specific area, you don't want that. So give it a little bit of extra time. Again, you can sort of just spin to win through these enemies. Right there, I like to jump, because spinning doesn't always work with that enemy, that particular enemy, so I like to jump through that area. Again, jump, spin, and here you can actually spin and spray, and you should hopefully be able to spray both of them, and you can move quickly while doing that. Just jump, spin, spray, keep moving, and it should hit both of those. It'll definitely hit that one. Sometimes it misses this one because there's a bunch of this crap in the way, so you can just take a moment to spray it if you miss it. Jump out, And again, make sure you jump out when you're close to the ladder. And out here, this is another one of those things we kind of have to get a feel for. Move around here. Let's say this is facing north. Face a little bit northeast, just a tiny little bit, until you're just past this gap in the fence. Aim down sight, look directly up, throw both your rings, and you should hit. Again, this is another one of those things you have to get a feel for, but that's just a quick way of hitting that button. It's much easier if you're doing a category where you have the infra ring for this section, but we don't have that for this guy, so you have to do that fancy jump. Again, just jump here. You can jump on all those. Get a quick little spray on each of these. Jump, jump, spray. Goes back around. Unfortunately, you can't jump the other way around. Spray like that. It should hit. Move around. And again, you can jump here. You can leave like that. And now you're already up here. And as you can see, I landed on the railing because now I can make that jump. Land on the railing again, make that jump. Jump over here. And you can actually do another jump glide to skip that other platform. A lot of little platforming tricks, but they all add up to a ton of time save. So if you can perform all of them without messing up, you can save a lot of time in this mission. Again, you can jump over that. Skip that cutscene, hit the button, and now we're in this mission. This mission's a little tricky. He'll jump towards you, let him... Come on, smash the ground. There you go. And he'll immediately open up his face and allow you to hit him. Now, the quick way of doing this, which saves about a second every single cycle, you'll see, if you say a certain distance, he'll jump to you. Let him smash the ground. Come on, smash the ground. He really doesn't want to smash the ground for some reason. Okay. That's weird. I'm not sure why he's not smashing the ground. Normally, he'll take 8 steps, and then you hit his face when he opens it up. Ugh, come on. Can you do it here? Okay, no, I guess he doesn't want to anymore. Okay. The patterns on this fight are really weird. If he stops doing that little jump towards you, if there's ever a moment where he jumps, you don't get that full cycle where he jumps towards you and he smashes the ground, then he's never going to do that little jump towards you again. I don't know why, that's just the way he is. So now he's going to do these 8 steps. Notice that right after that 8th step, when he starts that animation, you can immediately throw a ring at his face and deal damage to him. So anyway, I'll try and explain that quick cycle since I'm not going to be able to get it again. He'll do a short little jump to you. You'll want to avoid when he lands because he'll cause a little shock wave. And then stay close to him and let him smash the ground, but make sure you move away just quickly enough to where he doesn't smash you, where he just smashes the ground. And then immediately after that, he'll open up his face for you to hit him. And if you do that all correctly, then you'll save about a second over this normal strategy of him just walking toward you and taking 8 steps. Not a lot of time, especially when you consider the fact that it's actually really hard to do, I've come to find. It's really hard to do that consistently. And I think you'll see in my 80% world record, I think in the world record, I struggle with it a little bit, and I still do because it's tricky. One thing to avoid doing, if you're trying to do that, is getting too far away from him from the start of his cycle, because then he'll do this big long jump where he, like, charges up, and then he elbows the ground and he explodes. That's going to lose you a lot of time if he does that. There's a sort of a high-risk, low-reward to doing the quick strategy here, which is why most people don't even bother with it. Although, to note, right at the start of this mission, he will always do a small jump towards you. He will always do a small jump towards you. Because of that, you want to get him to smash the ground off of that first cycle no matter what, so you can skip watching him do all 8 of his steps. It's very important on that first one. Let's see if I can... Okay, see, that's what it looks like when he charges up, and now he elbows the ground. He'll come back, and as you can see, this loses a decent amount of time. On the plus side, he'll jump like that, but he'll immediately open his face. So it's a little quicker than the 8 steps, but you have to sit through that whole extra cycle. So in the grand scheme of things, it's much lower. Because of that, I think the way his cycles works are really weird, but I think now he might actually perform a small hop again, now that I've gotten him to perform a big hop after messing up that cycle. It's really weird. I've slowly been figuring out how all of his attacks work. Let's see if I can get him to do a small hop. Nope, a big hop. But I managed to get him to stop, which is nice. Alright. So yeah. That mission may, or that boss fight may seem really straightforward, but there's actually a lot to it. If you want to perform it as fast as possible. Alright, so at this point we need at least 7,000 opals. That won't be a problem. You'll just naturally get more than 7,000 just by doing the missions alone, so you don't have to worry about that. The only time you ever have to worry about opals is the very first thing, and if you leave the very beginning with at least 1,700, you'll be fine. So here, we need 7,000. We need to buy this Frosty Ring. This will be used for one mission later on, and then we come over here, and we buy the Sub-Bunion, which will be used for 2 missions. Now, something very important. We don't actually buy the Frosty Ring on the console 80%. Well, why, you may ask? Because of the way the game determines what missions you need to complete in order to unlock the boss fight. There's supposed to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 7 missions that are available for you to do that would count towards unlocking the boss fight, and you only need to do 6 of them. However, in the PC version, one of the bonus missions that isn't supposed to count, the Stone Beetle mission, we'll get to that, actually counts. So that changes the route a lot between the console version and this version. Because there's this giant open world area that now, instead of containing only 1 mission, contains 2 missions if you add in the Stone Beetle. So it's quicker now to go there to complete them, whereas before it was slower because the area is so big that it takes forever just to walk towards the mission. So we're gonna go over here. This is the easy any % route, and I say that because I've recently discovered off of some timings that it's quicker to skip this mission and do the Crocodile Chaos mission. If you do the Crocodile Chaos mission really well, it saves about 10 seconds. However, that mission is very, very hard, and there's a lot of variance in it. So most of the time, you'd probably just end up breaking even, if not losing time. However, I see myself 6 months down the line not doing Sheep Dip anymore and doing Crocodile Chaos because of the fact that it can potentially save up to 10 seconds. I'm going to show you both of these missions just so, you know, you have all the concise information you need when running the game. So this is another one where you have to run around, grab stuff, and then deliver it to one static location. Now, this platform here that I'm about to go to, this moves around. However, it only moves when you're a certain vicinity away from it. So, with this route, even if you mess up a few of your grabs or a few of your drops, you should always be able to grab that one in time. Now, one important note here, the path of least resistance between where you drop the sheep and the next sheep has a tree in it. So, make sure you go slightly to the right to avoid that tree. As you can see, that platform barely moved while I was away from it, because it only moves when you're a certain vicinity away from it. It's kind of weird.
On your 6.
Okay, and that's the Sheep mission. Again, 6 months down the line or so, I probably won't be doing that mission anymore. Okay, if you're running console version, because you can't do the Stone Beetle mission, you actually have to do Sheep Dip, the Crocodile Chaos, and another mission, because you won't want to go to the Sulphur Rocks area. because the mission there just takes so long if you're only doing it on its own. Because you can do 2 missions for the price of 1 in that area, essentially, it's quicker. But in the console version, you need to skip that area entirely, do Sheep Dip, do Crocodile Chaos, and you have to do the Bush Rescue mission, which is a pretty long mission on its own, but it's slightly quicker than doing the the lava mission. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get there. I don't remember the exact name for the mission. Here, when you're driving down an incline like this and moving super fast, you can again have the problem with your front tires coming up and then you not being able to steer. So I try and just be a little cautious. I don't slow down that hill, but I'm extra cautious to make sure that my vehicle doesn't end up in limbo for a second and I lose all my controls. That can cause you to slam into walls and lose time. And you don't want that. Alright. You can dive into the water. I like to correct my camera angle immediately because it likes to start somewhere around here, which obviously it's kind of hard to see where you're going. So I immediately correct my camera angle using my left hand and touching the right thumbstick, because I want to immediately be spamming A so I can immediately be swimming fast. Watch out for these sharks. They're sort of... I got hit. They were in a weird area that I wasn't used to because I didn't immediately go towards them. But you'll want to avoid those 3. You should just be able to barely swim around them normally. And now we enter this cave for the 2 submissions. Sub Bunyip has literally the exact same physics and the exact same controls as the helicopter. It's kind of just a copy and paste thing. As you can see, it's literally the exact same. This area is in a giant S form, and you can check that just by pulling up the pause menu. It may seem like one big area because of how wide all of the turns are. Let me grab a drink real quick. Very nice. Because of how wide all the turns are, it can feel like one big open area, but it's just this one linear path. So you'll want to go make these giant S-turns and again, hug the wall. Save as much time as possible. Now with these sharks aren't really a problem on this mission. It's very unlikely that they'll get in your way. However, whenever I like to shoot missiles at them, I always shoot 2, and there's actually a reason for that. A long time ago. For fun, I liked to speedrun this game on console. I never submitted a time because I used to be really bad at this game. But on console version, you see those colorful sharks there. For whatever reason on console version, they take 2 hits to kill. I guess I should say, for whatever reason on PC version, they only take 1 hit, considering console was the original. But, that's why I usually shoot 2. I just shot 1 just now. But my instinct is to always shoot 2 whenever that audio cue pops up, just to get the sharks out of my way. Alrighty. Bear in mind when you're spamming Y, at this point you don't want to be spamming Y forever. Because this will happen, you're trying to move, and you're moving slowly now. You're losing frames by doing that. So whenever you leave a mission, make sure you spam the correct amount of Y hits. And it's going to be different for different missions. With this one just now, the toucan guy, I can't think of his name, he doesn't have anything to say to you after you complete this mission, so you only need to hit it once to skip the cutscene. Whereas with most missions, you need to hit it twice in order to skip both of those things. That's just sort of a memorization thing, and then getting used to it. It's going to be the same with this mission over here. Old toucan guy, I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. He has a name. He isn't going to have anything to say after this mission either, so you only have to hit the Y button once. It's at any point in any of the categories, if you have more than just the boomerang, you don't want to be spamming Y all the time, because this is going to happen. You don't want that. Alright, with this mission, this is very, very, very similar to the dentist mission, even down to the fact that the pieces are in the exact same shapes. And again, this is one of those, just watch what I'm doing, because I'm taking the quickest route. Unless somehow somebody can find a quicker route, which would really blow my mind, but if you do manage to find a quicker route, send that to me immediately. I'd like to know about it. With this mission, as you can see, I just got hit by a shark, because there's sharks everywhere here. So with this mission, it's very important to always, when you hear that audio cue, that ding ding sound whenever a shark is near you, spam 2 missiles at it immediately. You want to clear the area of sharks, because they will get in your way, and it's really annoying. There's a lot in this mission. Now here, try and avoid that little UFO looking thing, and go down here. It's kind of tough, because what's going to happen if you go over this, you'll touch this and you'll bounce up a little bit, and you'll lose your downward momentum. You want to keep your downward momentum here by going in between that and that little pillar there to grab the item and then move on. Grabbing this piece of pipe's actually really difficult, and it takes a while to get used to, at least doing it quickly. Alright. Again, we'll leave here. Dive into the water. Swim around this little mini island here. And then bam. Now we can get out of this area. So, in the future, whenever I've practiced the Crocodile Chaos and I have a really optimized run with the sheep dip route, I'm going to start doing Crocodile Chaos instead of sheep dip. And what that's going to entail is not going immediately to sheep dip, but instead going straight to the beach and then driving and then leaving that area after I'm done there. And after all my timing and all my adding up all the time changes that would happen with driving and stuff, I discovered that it's about 10 seconds faster if you get a really, really, really good Crocodile Chaos. And I mean, it has to be really good. Like, immaculate. We're not at Crocodile Chaos right now, though, so I probably shouldn't talk about it yet. We're at the tourist trap. This mission is pretty easy. Just go around and hit buttons. Alright, so right off the bat, we're going to come over here, talk to these two guys. Now, as you can see, it'll auto-target the button, but she's in the way, so you need to move a little bit forward and then hit it. So make sure after you spam through that, move a little bit forward and then hit it. Come this way. Through here, hit the button. And as you can see, you can sort of hit it on the side like that, and it'll be just fine. It'll activate. Hitboxes are really weird in this game. Again, here. Should work. Don't worry about killing any of the enemies. You don't have to. With this fire rod right here, I find that if you move to the right like that, you should never get hit by it. With this button, because there's so many enemies, it likes to auto-target random stuff. So what I do is I do like a really quick turn and then move out of the way like that. You can jump here and then jump again to skip running around all that area. Avoid saw blades. This one's tricky because two bad things can happen. It can either hit the stump like what just happened, or it can totally miss if you throw it from too far away. So it's ideal to get somewhere around here to throw the button, throw it at the button, and then move on. Again, don't worry about enemies. Just run around them. Usually their animation where they notice you is so long that you can just avoid them entirely. You run around those fire blades like that. There's a tiny little gap that you can run through where you'll never get hit by them. With this button, I like to get real up close and personal with it because he likes to auto-target all the enemies here instead of the button. So just get really up close and personal with that button. Again, always make sure you're totally moving unless you get stopped by a saw blade. So you might be thinking, alright, we're at the end. Where's the last button? And we can go around this way to go through this gate and fall off. We can still fall off. Although that's not intended. It's actually quicker. You can jump on this button for a split second and jump again. But you have a very limited time to do that, so it has to be really quick. The last button, you're actually supposed to get really early. It's over here. Hit that and move on. Pretty simple, just a few little platforming quirks in that one. Every single category does that mission a tiny little bit differently because of the access to certain rings, but that's how you do it for any percent. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you Crocodile Chaos, even though, as you can see on my splits, I don't have to do it, but I think it's important for people to see it, because I think it will be important for any percent in the future. And this is certainly not something that beginners should try. This is really, really difficult, this mission. And even if you get it really, really good, like I said, it only saves about 10 seconds if you skip Sheep Dip. Walking through this area is pretty simple. It's just basically hugging the walls. You can even run under this little branch here. Or tree trunk, whatever you want to call it. You can jump around all this foliage, I guess would be the word for that. You can just hug the walls. Wait here. Go through. And now here it is. This mission is... Okay, so before we go into it, I'm just going to describe what you want. What you really want is to finish this mission with 9 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. This is very difficult. Even very experienced players can't get that time. I can just barely get that time if I get it, like, perfectly. That'll save you approximately 10 seconds if you get that time. Now, most good players, on average, can leave this area with around 9 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. That will break even with Sheep Dip. Anything slower than that, and you're not breaking even with Sheep Dip. So, with that in mind, let's see what this is like. What you want to do, start hurting the one that's the furthest away towards the area. Now let's start getting the second one. Oh. Sometimes the auto-targeting does weird things. Alright, I aimed him slightly too far to the left, as you can see. This is going very, very poorly. As you can see, this is why I'm not doing it yet in runs, because this is hard. But ideally, they should just run in there on their own. Looks like that one's about to go in there on his own. Bam. And that one turned around. Sometimes they do random crap like that where they just turn around on their own. And it totally... See, they just totally ruin it. And this freaking mission sucks ballsack. But, if you get it really good, it'll save time. Okay. That one's going to go in so we can start running away now. That mission sucks a lot, as you can see, which is why I'm not doing it in runs yet. If I were to do that instead of Sheep Dip in a run and got that just now, which was very bad, it was very bad, even for me, I would have lost about 20 seconds. So, yeet. Basically, the key with that is to herd the ones that are furthest away first, and slowly, slowly move in until all of them are in that last center area. And if you're lucky, they'll go in on their own. That's the thing. You have to get lucky. Alright. So now for an actual mission that we actually do in the run. That we currently actually do in the run. The next Ninja's mission. And now I'll go ahead and talk more about what's going through my mind when I'm doing the mission. Right off the bat, I'm just looking for some that are close. As you can see, auto-targeting sucks. Fight that guy. When they jump on the pole, you have to wait a second for them to land in order for the auto-targeting to work. Always be looking for shadows, because that's going to be an enemy. You don't actually have to grab the opals. I don't know why I bothered to run all the way over there to grab them. Sometimes my gaming intuition gets in the way of my speedrunning intuition. At this point, I'm looking at how many I have. I have I have 14. I don't have about. I have 14. 15, and now I'm keeping track in my head. Because at this point, the enemies are actually on a timer for them to spawn in. 17, 18. At this point, they're all... This was pretty slow just now. And on top of that, I'm really far away from the exit. So my goal at the end of that, when I'm at around 15, 16, 17... They should hopefully, I should have all of them killed, and I'm waiting for them to spawn in one by one. And they can spawn in random locations. So there's like sort of a fixed time that would be a perfect time for each of these missions, where you kill the last one right as it spawns in, and that's the goal. On top of that being the goal, you also want to be towards the exit when that happens, so you can be leaving as soon as possible. When you get a perfect film, it'll feel really good. Trust me. Although it's pretty tricky. There's an item we'll get later on called the Mega Ring that'll make this really easy. Some categories will have the Mega Ring by this point in the run. But in this category we don't, so we just have to make do without it. We will be buying the Mega Ring for the last ninja mission during the final quarter, though. That'll make it very easy. Alright, so now the Soulful Rocks. As you can see, we're already starting off. We have to move a pretty far distance. I forgot to switch to the Frosty Ring. That's a little note. When you're in these loading areas, when you're in this menu, it doesn't slow down the loading at all. So if you ever need to switch rings, try and do it when you're in a loading area. It'll save you just a tiny, tiny little fraction of time. Not really enough to be that useful, but it does. So switch to the Frosty Ring when you're in there, because the first mission we do here requires it. As you can see, this is one of the big open world areas where the main intention of this area is for the player to actually just be collecting the collectibles in the game. And makes basically just like open world exploring. That's sort of the purpose of this area. And then there's various missions sprinkled in. One quote-unquote required mission, and then there's 2 optional ones. One of the optional ones counts as a required in the console version, which is why we come here for this, because we can get a 2-for-1. So now we're up here. We're gonna head in here, the area that looks blue, and this is the lava mission. There's a little alien that's trapped on the other side of this lava pit. Here, throw 2 rings, because it's very likely that one of them won't auto-target that fire rock right there. Here, the game wants you to throw a ring at the teetering rock so you can move it in a desirable location, but if you jump glide as opposed to just falling straight off, oops. Yeah, I guess that is an important note. These rocks, these weird circular rocks with a little crack in them, the area that you can jump on them is kind of weird. Like, when you're all the way out at the edge, okay. It's really hard to explain without having you play the game yourself, is what I'm trying to say. It just feels really weird jumping off these rocks. You can get all the way to the edge and try and jump, and it won't let you jump for some reason. That just happens. It feels like you're still on the rock, but the game doesn't think that. It doesn't let you jump. That happens a lot with these, so you have to be super careful. Again, jump gliding, a little tricky. I got it that time. I don't know how I missed it. Just a quirk of me trying to talk and play at the same time. You'll have to aim down sight to hit that rock right there. Do a little bit of jumping. Again, throw 2 rings. With these, you should just be able to keep moving like that, not having to stop. You have to aim down sight for this one. Again, jump glide here. Let this teeter a little bit, and then jump glide so you can skip that last rock, and that's it. It'll boot you all the way back out here, and then you'll want to go this way. This is where the stone beetle is in this direction. Come over here. And you can jump and dive into the water right here. Come out. Jump, jump, jump. Happy fun jump time. And over here, this is where the stone beetle mission is. This mission really, really sucks on console, and I'm glad that we don't have to do it in any percent on console, because on the console version, for some reason, it gives you a camera angle where you can't see where you're going. On PC, they fixed that. As you can see, we can see exactly where we're going. That also has the side effect of making this mission really easy, which I don't think was the developer's intention. One quick note about jumping. When you land after jumping, you lose a lot of your momentum, as you can see. So when you start jumping, you want to keep jumping. Like this. Especially when you're moving upward, because you lose a lot of your speed when you're moving upward while grinding. As you can see... Fuck. I messed it up. Slightly. But that would be relatively ideal movement, what I did just now. Now, there's a weird quirk with this mission that when you respawn, it doesn't actually finish the mission. You have to go back and talk to him to finish the mission, for whatever reason. Again, kind of stupid, but that's just the way it is. So now, after that, that's going to unlock the Fluffy boss fight, which is the third boss fight of the game. Fourth, if you consider the intro a boss fight, but that's really more of a tutorial, in my mind. This boss fight... I'll go ahead and just sort of explain a little bit while we're leaving the area. It is one of those things that it takes a while to get used to the pattern, but once you get used to the pattern, this becomes one of the easiest boss fights in the game. And I'll talk more about it when we get there. Here, jump on this net to jump over. There's a bilby right here that's in your way, so you'll get it for free. You don't have to grab the bilby, you don't not have to grab the bilby, but it's literally in your path of least resistance, so... you might as well grab it instead of moving around it. Here, if you get good jump glides, you should... I didn't do it. Let's try it again. You should just be able to make that. And again, here, a good jump glide. You'll jump on there. And then one last good jump glide. You'll make it there. And ideally, you don't ledge grab at all. You also ideally don't climb on that little net earlier on. One tiny note to keep in mind, and this should rarely be a thing, but if you are at 1 HP, 1 or 2 HP actually, you can save a little bit of time here by taking damage from the frill. If you let the frill kill you, it'll respawn you all the way up near the 4B. And that'll save you about 10 seconds, but that's only if you're at 1 health. And if you're at 2 health, it'll only save you about 3 seconds. Anything more than that, you're not saving time. You're actually going to be losing time. Since I'm at full health, I just leave. And you should be at full health leaving there. There's literally no reason why you shouldn't be at full health. If you decide to do the lava mission first, and you mess up a few times, then just keep that in mind, that you'll have that option if you're at 1 or 2 health, to save a tiny little bit of time. But, ideally that shouldn't be an option at all, because if that is an option, that means you lost time earlier. Alright, so I'll go through this area. Now, unfortunately, it's a good time to just test it. I'm pretty sure you cannot jump glide onto here. I'm like 99% sure that's impossible. I want to say that that's high enough to where you can jump glide. I got it! I've never done that before. See if I can recreate it. Ooh. That might just be too difficult to do in a run. Basically what I'm trying to say here is that if you ledge grab here, this is much slower than going around and jumping twice. Which I think I'm still going to be doing that, but I guess you can jump glide up there. I guess it is... I don't know if I'm going to get it again. That would have been like a perfect jump glide. Okay, anyway, moving on. Just a little note. Ledge grabbing is very slow. It loses a lot of time. It may not seem like it, but it does. Alright, let's get into this fight. Immediately jump onto this platform before it gets too far away from you, so you can get right here. Fluffy's going to come here, go ahead and punch her off. She's going to regain her health. That's kind of the gimmick for this fight. Jump on this platform. Let it sort of tilt a little bit so you can get a little bit of extra air when you jump off here. Again, pull out the mouse. You'll get quicker movement speed here. Knock that guy out. Little cutscene. Wait for the cutscene to end, because if you let the cutscene happen while you're midair, you will fall down into the water. So do not try and spam through the cutscene when you're in midair, because you will fall into the water. Alright, again here, and then the cannons. Kill this next mech all the way over there. These mechs have way less health than the ones at the beginning of the game. Again, let that happen, and then jump. Then head over here. This next, it's very important that you do exactly what I do here, and you'll save the most time on this fight. You'll open up this cannon. She should immediately jump right here. Hit her once. Now kill the mech. Uh-oh. Come on. Hit her one more time. And that's it. And you've already hit her twice before she's even able to regain any health. Hit her again. Play on the ground, and you're done. Alright, so now the fourth quarter. Instead of immediately leaving, we actually have to go over here, talk to Julius, start up this next delivery mission. This one gives you 6 minutes, which is still a comically large amount of time. 2 things we have to buy here. Technically only 1 thing we have to buy, and another thing that just is helpful. So first, we'll go over here, and if you go up, it'll reset to the bottom, so you'll go up and buy the Mega Ring. Much quicker than going the other way around. This is the best ring in the game, best non-upgraded ring in the game. And then buy the Liquid Buy, and those are the 2 things you need. One real quick note about the loadless timer that I forgot I should mention. So you can get that in the Discord, which I think a link to the Discord's on the speedrun.com website. This isn't actually cutting out every single load time, because the loading in this game is really weird. For instance, it's not going to cut out this load time. The load times that it cuts out are whenever you see that Bush Rescue logo and the little spinning circle around it. Those are the load times that are getting cut out. For me, as you can see on the timer, that does not amount to much, because I have really, really fast loads. Other people don't have really, really fast loads, and it'll cut out literally nearly a minute if you have slow loads. Oops. There I turned a little bit too quick. Every single turn is slightly different. Literally every single turn in this game is slightly different, so it's just something you have to get a feel for. I turned a little bit too early again. Slow down over this hill. It's very important that you slow down over that hill, because if you go full speed up that hill, you will fly in the air and you will go into that limbo mode I was talking about. It's also likely that you'll flip your Thorby over on specifically that hill. So always slow down. Trust me, it's not even worth attempting trying to go straight over that hill at full speed. It's not even worth attempting. Alright, next to Never Never. So, this area, this is another open world area, but the difference here is instead of having 1 required mission, it actually has 4 in it. So we can complete all 4 of them in here, and it takes about the same time as 1 really long mission, honestly. All the missions here are very short. Switch to the boomerang. You'll need the boomerang for the first one specifically, and not the Mega Ring. It's actually important, because the Mega Ring likes to bounce around. That's sort of the gimmick with it. And you want to only be hitting 1 target with each of your throws for this first mission. One real quick note about load times. In this area particularly, and this is the only area where this seems to be an issue, if you have fast load times, it's actually slower, because that very first saw blade, the cycle on it is a little bit... It'll change depending on how quick your load times are. So if you have fast load times, you'll always get stuck there. But if you have quick load times, you're able to barely just make it. Alright, so here we have this dinosaur. Her pattern is always the same. Red, yellow, green. And you'll want to get close to them to hit them, so you don't accidentally hit a wrong one. Red, yellow, blue, green. Always the same. Pink, you have to wait a second here for it to reset. Pink, green, yellow, red. And that's that. That's that whole mission. Next. Go ahead and activate it by talking to him. Jump into the thermal bunyip and just dive into the lava and swim. This is the quickest way to get over. Jump on that lava rock, jump up. And that's it. That is literally that whole mission. These missions in this area are super short, besides the last one. The last one actually takes a little bit of time. Just jump out there. Again, make sure you have the boomerang out. Now, you shouldn't need it, but if you choose to... I'll just show you. Start up the mission. If you choose to go slower and try and move these rocks to where it's easier to jump across them, you do not want to have the Mega Ring out because they will bounce around and totally screw up your pattern. So you need to make sure you have the boomerang for this if you choose to use it. But with jump gliding, you should not need it at all. And let me show you. And now, this cutscene won't activate. You have to jump off, dive in the water, and then the cutscene activates. Let me show you that one more time, because this is a little tricky. This is one of those things that you'll want to practice before you actually try a run. So for the most part, it's pretty simple. Just jump. Most of these first ones are pretty easy and should be able to get simply. That one's a little bit more tricky, but the really difficult one is this one. You'll want to come to the edge to tilt it a little bit, and then jump. That one's the most difficult one. If you can get that one consistently, you can get the rest of them consistently. And then from there, it's just jump, jump. And the cutscene won't activate, so of course you dive into the water, and that's it. Alright, now we head into this area for Dennis's mission. Fun Dennis. Starts up right off the bat, skip his cutscene. Now Dennis is kind of an idiot. He needs to get home, but there's these dinosaurs in the way. So as any good park ranger would do, we kill them. That was a joke. I mean, we do kill them, but I don't think good park rangers would do that. The dinosaurs are also really stupid, as you saw. Two of them just hopped into the water and died. Apparently, water kills them. Yeah. It'd be like that. So go ahead and you're going to have to kill all of them. And now, very important, like I said, Dennis is very stupid. He's a big fat idiot. And the reason is, if you get out of your mech, he will run into it and perpetually run. He won't always do that, but it's likely that he will, because he takes a semi-random path. It changes every single time. So if you set your mech somewhere, it's likely that he'll start running into it continuously. So what you want to do is you want to get behind him. We see we got past him. What he likes to do is this. And he'll never move. So make sure you get out of your mech when you're behind him. Now, where I like to stand is somewhere around here. Let's see if he's there yet. Yeah, I see him moving over there. You can see him moving. Stand around here and be facing the door. At this point. You'll have to wait a second. But that's it. Eventually the cutscene will activate. You don't have to be near him for the cutscene to activate. And then you leave. Now, something to keep in mind before we leave the area. The reason why I stand there is because if you stand somewhere around here, the cutscene won't activate. You'll be slightly too far away from him. The actual location is somewhere in the water here. But I've totally missed the actual area before, so I just like to stand here. I've discovered. It's easier. And you maybe lose like the tiniest little tenth of a second from movement distance. So it's not that big of a deal to me. Alright, so now we head out. We've completed all 4 of the missions here. Just fall off right here, slowly glide down, and leave. Some people like to do the bird mission when they're leaving instead of when they're coming in. It doesn't really lose a whole lot of time. It loses like a tiny bit of second just from movement, but that does lose a little bit of time. So you might as well do it when you're coming in instead. Do a little bit of platforming there and get into the 4B. So now it's the final ninja mission. And I forgot to switch the Mega Ring while I was in a loading area. Doesn't matter that much because it only loses a tiny little bit of time. But you want the Mega Ring for this fight. Oops, and I jumped way too early and I ledge grabbed. Now, as you can see, the Mega Ring, you don't even have to aim downside or auto-target or anything. Well, maybe. It'll automatically target everything and then bounce around. Pretty incredible. It kind of trivializes the entire difficulty of the whole game once you buy this item. It's not even that expensive, it's only 6,000 opals. Which when you compare it to some of the other upgraded rings, that's like nothing. I like to stand around here and just wait for them to slowly spawn in. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh. There you go. And that's it. Alright, now moving on. Again, power slide to get out of there. The next two missions are the Lifter Bunyip missions. And they're probably the least fun missions because the Lifter Bunyip has an issue where it's extremely slow. Driving here is really tricky because it's really hilly, so again, you get a little bit of air, so it's hard to steer. But again, it's just one of those things you have to get a feel for. You have to do it a lot. Get off the mud ASAP because your movement speed's much lower in the mud, even when you jump and you're in the air, because you don't gain speed when you're in the air. Alright, instead of talking to him to start the mission, just get immediately into Lifter Bunyip and we'll start. This first one is the one that's the furthest away. You have to throw these rocks. That first rock has a kind of a weird hitbox to lift. You have to get to the side a little bit, but just perfectly in the right area. Basically, what you're doing here is just pick up and then a soft throw. Soft throw you do with B or circle, and a hard throw you do with X or square, depending on what, fuck, I wasn't thinking for a second. Now, with strong throws, you can actually get these donuts onto the semi-truck much more quickly, and I'll show you what I mean. From here, I can do a strong throw somewhere around here, and it'll get on the semi easily. Whereas if I did a weak throw, it would just hit the ground. Let me show you what I mean. I'll go ahead and do it once so you can see what it would look like. If you grab, and then you do a weak throw. From around this distance, I could get it with a strong throw, but if I do a weak throw, it just hits the ground, it explodes. You have to go back and grab it. Whereas if I did the exact same thing, but did a strong throw instead, the animation is a tiny little bit slower, but it'll land. There's also a little bit of ending lag to that animation as well. Just keep that in mind. This next one's really annoying, and there's a little bit of variance to it. These frills, these uber frills, I like to go a little bit to the left of where it is so you can start hitting all these frills early. Make sure you don't get over that mound so you don't activate that last frill to start attacking you. Do that, and then grab the crate and start moving. And you won't have to deal with that last frill if you do it just like that. Again, move slightly to the left of it so you can activate those 4 frills. And then don't ever go over that mound so you don't activate that last one. You will activate it when you grab the donuts, but he shouldn't actually get to you in time before he stops carrying. As you saw, I actually did a weak throw there. Because the weak throw has a slightly slower animation, a slightly shorter animation, it's quicker to just walk over there and do a short throw instead of a long throw. With this, you're supposed to clear out those rocks and move around the fence, but with a strong throw, you can just do a strong throw from here, and it'll work, and then jump over the fence. And then from here, you don't even have to move at all with this one. Just pick it up, strong throw. It's a little bit too far away for a weak throw. But yeah, that's that. Also, that Uber frill, if he chases you like he did with me, he'll end up on the road, so look out for him when you're driving. Driving here is really annoying. There's a lot of little tiny bumps that'll cause you to gain air. And you have to be performing pretty tight turns, so just be super careful when driving through that area. Again, another one of those things, you just need to get a feel for it, because that area is much different than driving in any of the other terrain in the game. I don't hug the wall here, because if you hug the wall too tight, you won't be able to hit that platform very easily. Alright, again, get into the lifter button to start the mission. Grab the rock and do a short throw, just to clear it out of the way. The lifter bunny does a pretty good job of actually hitting the frills, but as you saw, it just missed it once. Alright, with that rock, what I like to do is get slightly to the left again, because the hitbox for grabbing it, again, is pretty weird. The rest of them are normal, though. Fairly normal in this one. I got really unlucky with the timing of that frills punch. As you can see, you should never have to worry about your health with the lifter bunny, but it has, like, infinity health. One punch did, like, 1/16 of my health. Now here, sometimes the frills can evade your... Like, that guy just now... It's just like, why? Why are you not hitting it? But that's just the way it is in that one spot. I find that one spot is very difficult to hit frills, so keep that in mind. And once you grab the truck, that's the end of the mission. Power slide to leave. We got one more mission left before the final boss. Holy shit. I turned way too early, and as you can see, that had a catastrophic side effect, so that's why it's very important to practice your driving. Sometimes it's not that bad, but sometimes you get crap like that where you get completely turned around, so practice, practice. Up here, you will need a power slide into this little pad here, because there's an invisible wall over that patch of grass. I just barely missed it. I thought I was going to hit it there. So yeah, be careful with that. This helicopter mission is a little bit different than the rest of them, and I'll show you why. Because you have this little bucket attachment. Because of that, you want to keep really low altitude. Now, in order to fill the bucket, you have to totally submerge it. Handle and everything. You might think it's submerged now, but you need to get the handle submerged for it to actually count. And make sure you keep a low altitude so you can get back into the water as quickly as possible. There's no reason to try and get high altitude in this one. In fact, it's actually worse to do that. I only get high altitude here to avoid some of those trees. As you can see now, I'm going down and I'm already in the water. And I keep a low altitude. I didn't get close enough to the house. There we go. Did that count? That just barely counted. It didn't look like it actually submerged all the way, but that barely counted. That. Submerge again. Get over those trees. That. And one last one. Alright, and with that being done, now it's time to head back. And you might think, okay, now we have to drive all the way back for the final mission. That's actually not true. You can go to the map and you can hit exit level, and that'll take you immediately back. Huh, that was a strangely long loading time. It was longer than normal. That'll take you immediately back here. Switch to the boomerang. Very, 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 very important you have the boomerang for this one. Also, it'll bounce around to each of the TNT crates, and this mission will take longer. This little short mission. What you need to do first, run over here, get that one that's far away close to you, so you can explode it, and then just hit those last two, and you're good. Just like that. But it's very important that you get the one frill that's standing like right here to start charging you, so it actually gets hit by this TNT block that's somewhere around here. Very important. Now, let's start the final boss. Spam Y to get through all those cutscenes. And again, just sort of take the path of least resistance. You can sort of punch these trees out of your way. You can shoot them out of your way with your little laser beam. Big key with this first area is avoid the lasers. Right here, these lasers will screw you over. So you want to sort of jump over all that. Now right here, you can barely make this jump if you time your 2 jumps just right. Your second jump is going to be much later than you think it is. Now with this first one, immediately target his head and start firing your laser at him. You should be able to hit it. And again here, just like that. You didn't even get the opportunity to hit the ground. Now, when you're ending this, you want to be standing somewhere around here. Come on, hit him. Apache's freaking hitboxes are so dumb. You want to be standing here because now you're close to Buster, and he'll only do a small hop. And you just do the same thing where he does a small hop, you make him smack the ground, and you hit him. That's ideal. That's the quickest as possible. Now he's going to do his spike thing, so just avoid that. The reason why that's important is if you're too far away from Buster, he'll do a long hop, and that just loses a lot of time. You don't want that. Now here, short hop, good. Smash the ground. I'm actually almost out of health, although that'll generally happen. And then just start heading out. If I get hit by anything, I'm actually dead, so I need to be careful. I've never gotten this low on health before on this mission. So again, it's all about just taking the path of least resistance. As you can see now, we can slowly be moving in this direction at an angle, so we can get right on this corner and make this turn immediately. Having good movement is going to save you multiple minutes throughout an entire run. If you're consistently getting like times of 120, and you think to yourself, I cannot get a time faster than this, you probably need to start working on your movement. I know that was the case for me a long time ago. Now here, immediately aim down sight to start targeting Cass. You want him to be coming either directly towards you or directly away from you so your auto-target actually works. As you can see now, this is pretty bad because he's moving in a way that I can't hit him. Okay, now I can hit him. You want to hit him immediately whenever he stops flashing blue, because that means he'll start taking damage once he stops flashing blue. Okay, good. He only takes 3 hits for that first phase. Here, he'll jump towards you, he'll hit the ground, hit him, and now he's going to start doing this little spinny maneuver. He'll do that twice this time. He'll always do that twice. Then he'll hit the ground again, hit him, and now he's going to do that spinny maneuver again. This time he does it 3 times. And then hit him. Now he's not going to do that spinny thing again. For whatever reason, just the way he was programmed. And then right there, that's the end of that cycle. For this cycle, constantly be running to the right, and he'll never hit you with lava. As soon as he's done shooting lava at you, immediately aim down sight and target him. Okay, he actually hit me there, so I kind of just ate my own words. Again, immediately start aiming down sight when he's done firing lava at you. He'll take 3 hits here, and then aim down sight and start firing at him, but it's missing. No, that'll happen occasionally. Ideally, that will just be instant. Then you can skip those cutscenes at the end if you want, but really you want to pause right at the end so you can go here and see what your in-game time is. For this run, it was 1:37:12. For somebody's very first run, and I mean very first, not recorded, just your very first practice run, I think a time of 1 hour and 40 minutes would be a pretty good time. Maybe slower, about 1 hour 50 minutes would also be alright for your very first practice run. Ideally, after you've, practiced every single trick, you should be able to start popping out 130s and eventually 120s. And then once you get your movement really, really clean, you'll be able to start bumping that time up to 115, 114, 113, but at that point, it gets really optimized, so you're going to need to start getting really, really good runs to get times that are that low. Yeah, that's basically it. Again, you can skip the cutscenes. I personally think it's important to see what the game's in-game time is because, like I said at the beginning, there is some variance in it, but for the most part, it's relatively accurate. It's definitely not useful for trying to get world records because there is a little bit of variance that causes it to mess up and either add more time or not add time. But it's a pretty good judge of how long your run actually was without loads, relatively. And yeah, that's it. So once you're done, you should have 3 times. You should have your RTA time. You should have your loadless time, which again you can get on the Discord server. It should be a pinned message on there. And then you should also have your in-game time, which we don't really use. And that's it.